Joining us now is Senator James Lankford, a Republican from Oklahoma. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Glad to be back with you again.
The Senate can only afford to lose just 2 GOP votes to pass your version of tax reform, and it doesn't look like you're going to have those. Senator Ron Johnson, a Republican from Wisconsin, opposes it. Others may too. Now, if the president wants this on his desk by Christmas, how are you going to convince fellow senators to pass this bill?
Well, I think we continue to be able to work through the process to be able to solve the questions. I don't hear Ron Johnson and others saying, hey, I'm opposed to ever doing tax reform. They're opposed to aspects of it. So that's part of the negotiations. Again, this is a window into the legislative process. When some people believe all Democrats think alike, all Republicans think alike, that's not true. There's great diversity within both parties. There's great diversity across the entire body. So we're working those things out. I have concerns that I'm trying to bring to the issue and to the table as well to say I'd like to get these things addressed.
But why then, if you're trying to get all of this tax reform done, are you attempting to repeal President Obama's health law that requires people pay coverage or pay a fine? Aren't you risking failure by melding those two things together?
So there actually is tax policy. A great deal of what happens in the Affordable Care Act, what people call Obamacare, is actually tax. So one good example of that is what's called the individual mandate. That is, if you don't buy the kind of insurance that the Washington, D.C. folks want you to buy, then they'll put a tax penalty on you. What we're trying to do is just take away that tax penalty. 2 reasons for that is, one is it hits the middle class the hardest. In my state in Oklahoma, I don't know what it is in every state around the country, but in my state in Oklahoma, 81% of the people that pay that fine make $50,000 or less a year. These are people that can't afford the new Obamacare insurance, so they can't afford to buy it, but then they get hit with a big penalty as well. So that we're trying to be able to take away that tax penalty directly on middle class.
Let's talk about the Universal Charitable Giving Act you recently introduced to help low-income taxpayers who don't itemize charitable donations. The House version has not included it in its version. Why is this important to tax reform?
You know, most individuals that itemize on their own returns itemize on their mortgage interest deduction and itemize on charitable giving. Millions of Americans in the middle class donate to their church, they donate to other nonprofits, other entities within their community. We want to continue to incentivize that. Quite frankly, individual nonprofits and churches are much more efficient taking care of social needs than the government will ever be. So we want to continue to be able to encourage that behavior. Right now, the way that it is set up for charitable giving is that charitable giving is still protected, but it's protected for the highest 10% of individuals in their tax returns. The lower 90% of those don't have that because, quite frankly, they'll have a larger standard deduction, so they don't need it. I would still like to see us incentivize charitable giving.
Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma, thank you so much for joining us.
You bet. Glad to be able to be with you.